This video will examine resources and strategies to help you pinpoint the costs of your programming. In particular, we'll look at some strategies for estimating the costs of personnel, permits, and advertising. Even though more information is available to us now than at any point in human history, there are still limitations as to what you can find online. Some research tasks might require you to call companies, conduct interviews personally, or visit area suppliers to gather data on your own. In that study I mentioned earlier, a majority of employers said they were surprised that new grads rarely picked up the phone to try and solicit information. You need to be open to expanding your research techniques beyond a search results page. Next, when you are searching for data that seems like it should exist, you ask yourself, who cares? I don't mean that as harshly as it sounds. What I'm really saying is, who would care about knowing this information? If a company, charity, or agency cares enough about knowing something, there's a chance they collect data about it, which means there's a chance you can find that data. But just because it seems like something should be collected, it doesn't mean that it actually is. And that means that you need to be prepared to make decisions with imperfect information. So even though you want the data, if you can't find it, eventually you just have to move forward. It's a regular part of doing business, even though it seems really uncomfortable to us. This last area of programming research, pinpointing prices, is one where we'll run into all three of these limitations. When it comes to personnel, the Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks estimated wages for different metropolitan areas in each state. Charlottesville is one of the areas tracked, and you can see the hourly rates on the slide that are paid to fitness instructors and recreation personnel. You can also, depending on the program, look for costs of security or emergency medical teams. Both of those can be researched here too. Well, these are estimates. It's probably a good idea to confirm these rates and what you will need with a phone call to the agency itself. City government sites will have information about permits or special event planning guides that might be useful to you. In my experience, though, you usually will need to call the agency to find out exactly what the cost will be for your need. The City of Charlottesville, in fact, directs you to call this exact phone number for assistance with special events. Before you call, though, you can use advanced search operators in Google to try and find as much information up front. The searches here will get you to the exact special events page and even the application that you can put in online. It's always good to have as much information as possible before you have to make that phone call to make it go as smoothly as possible. For advertising, you first need to identify the local media in your area. State press associations have lists that they publish as directories, and local real estate firms or business groups often publish lists too. To find out how much it costs to place an ad, search in Google for advertise, the name of the news organization, and the city, like I have shown here in the card. You're looking for results that are described as rate cards or media kits. I found that advertising rate information isn't as readily available as it used to be, perhaps because it's a little more dynamic and changes based on the situation. So again, you might have to call the organization to find out what they charge your type of agency. When it comes to buying equipment, I posted an article on the research guide about shopping online and how retailers like Amazon expect you not to compare prices for cheaper items, just for big ticket ones. It's an interesting read from The Atlantic. But this matters in your shopping because you should always go beyond Amazon and look at specific retailers that offer what you need and comparison shop online. To find alternative providers of equipment if you're not familiar with things, you can use the related search in Google to get a list, like the one I have here for BSN Sports. But again, it is probably wise to call the final site that you plan to buy from to see what their most current rates are or whether they would offer bulk discounts in order to ensure you're getting the best price possible for your agency. The best resources to pinpoint costs include the BLS with its wage estimates by occupation and metro area, using Google search tricks to comparison shop or do things like find advertising rates, and calling organizations via the telephone because we want to be able to confirm data or it isn't findable online. More information about these strategies are on the SRM 337 research guide. Before we review, don't forget to submit your Google form exercise. Make sure you answered all of the questions in the Google form. You will receive a copy of your responses as a confirmation. And remember to practice. Becoming a great researcher requires repetition and persistence. It doesn't happen quickly. Let's review what we've covered in this video. Use the BLS to find hourly wages for states and metro areas. Look on economic development or city government sites for information about permits for events. Remember that not all information is available online. And so intentionally expand your information gathering strategies beyond the online search results page. Your